Well, Dr. Reddick, it's definitely a pleasure to be here with you today. And growing up, I grew up in Mount Pleasant Missionary Baptist Church, and I had the pleasure of watching you as a young man. So first, I'd just like to say thank you for always being a great example for me and others during that time. And a lot of the stuff that I look back now that I was witnessing and some of the things you did, I didn't really understand it, and I'm starting to understand it more as I grow up and have my own kids. So I just wanted to start off by saying thank you for all that you've done for our local community, but for our Black Americans and throughout the nation. So thank you. Dr. Reddick, I'd like to start off. Your father, Mr. William Reddick, led a strike at Morrison's Cafeteria on West Colonial Drive, and his life was threatened because of it. And before that, you worked on a campaign to get more Black men and women to vote during a time where you could be fired for doing such. And seeing your father go through what he went through and your experience working to get the vote out, did these two events spark your passion for social change?
Absolutely. I was elected class president in 1948, same year that Jackie Robinson came here, and I played hooky for the first time to see Jackie Robinson. So I like to establish that as an indication of my involvement in the political scene. And politics was important to me from the time I was in the fourth grade. And of course, the NAACP and the activists, and of course my father. When Daddy was leading the effort to try to unionize the waiters, they were told sometimes when they came into Morrison and other places to work, your choice of meat are wieners, frankfurters, or hot dog. And sometimes white waitresses were given an opportunity to select from the line. And in many instances, the Black waiters were given a cream of chicken. In other words, the chicken. So for me, very early, the person responsible for the bread and butter came home and complained about how he was treated. And of course, Morrison Cafeteria, there was competition to be the head waiter, and he was a head waiter at a number of places. And of course, we were very concerned about his activities leading a union, and he was a head waiter at a number of places. And of course, we were very concerned about his activities leading a union effort. So during my political campaigns, I would say loud and clear, I'm a union man. And the other aspect of political involvement, we had people involved in trying to register Black voters, especially the Smathers Pepper campaign of 1950. Most people will not remember Senator Pepper, but they called him, I'm going to use the term Negro Pepper, but they did not use Negro Pepper. When they described the senator, they used an epithet that was not very kind. They said he was a communist, red-baiting, and I'm cleaning up my language out of respect for you, Commissioner, and high office that you occupy, and the film crew. But the effort to register Black citrus men, all of where it is now Valencia Community College, was groves at that time. And the primary industry on Jackson between Lee and Paramore, and I'm being very specific, that's the area which I grew up, Jackson, on Jackson Street. It was full of Black men picking oranges, and so trying to persuade them to register and vote. And it was a lonesome task, but there was one Black man named Goldie Thomas that would come and sleep on our floor. We lived at 726 and a half West Jackson Street. We had 2 bedrooms. Mom and Daddy slept in one, and the girls slept in one bed, we slept in another. This guy came and slept on our floor in 1948 and 49 trying to get Claude Pepper elected. So for me, politics is almost as important to me as Mount Pleasant Missionary Baptist Church. I joined the church, I was a class president, and so politics don't come to me asking to be paid, not to do your best. When I tell people, I'm prepared to take a polygraph and an IQ test. When I tell you I'm going to vote on it, you can count on it. Kill me or not, you can the vote that I tell you that I'm going to render, you can count on it. And so for me, politics prior to puberty was something that was very important to me. I knew the importance. I sold the Pittsburgh Courier. We did not have a lot of money. Rent was $2 a week, and there were difficulties with that $2 a week sometimes. So I'm saying to you, politics for me personally, being the class president, joining Mount Pleasant Missionary Baptist Church, being there to listen to the old folk talk about trying to register the black vote, and the Orange County Supervisor of Election was not very prone toward black people voting. So that was inculcated into the very DNA that I possess. And so at almost 84, I feel some of the same emotions that I explained this to you. So it was a very important part of my being. And of course, I wanted to right some of the wrong and tried to, whenever given an opportunity, and participated in the NAACP. I was the class junior NAACP at Jones High School. So okay. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, no, good. And it seems like you light up when you talk about that time. So is that, during that time, is that where you still get some of your strength from knowing your daddy was in the fight and the individuals that came before you?
Well, I think it was the confidence of my classmate. I have won elections, I've lost election, and I played football at Jones High School, and so football and politics are the same as far as I'm concerned. You got to bring it to get it. Yeah. And if you can't stand up here and take the heat, don't get out here. And so people have said some pretty horrible things, and I was disappointed about some of the editorials that were written about me. But as I've said many times, if you're going to stand up and say you want to represent the people, you need to be able to stand up and not stutter or stammer. You got to get up and tell them why you voted. And so for me, the moment of truth, my mother and father would sit down on the right side of Mount Pleasant. And I've always said to myself, there isn't a vote that I can make in Tallahassee. If I can't come home to Mount Pleasant and stand up in front of them and look everybody in the eye and tell them, this is why I voted for the John Young Parkway. This is why I voted and raised hell about their closing the Florida A&M School of Education because the black students were not graduating as well. And we went to the mat, just as the Texas legislators are doing. The black legislators, we were there not to represent just Orlando. We were representing black people all over Florida. So that was my marshaled baton that you got to be able to stand up and not stammer when you get ready to talk. It has to come out, and for that reason, a lot of the photos I don't like to grin because black women in the community told me they didn't want me up there grinning. They made it very clear they did not want to see a grinning man up there all the time. The business that I was to handle was serious, and so one of the things that is imprinted on my character is the fact that black women who supported me in my school board campaigns and they're walking for me in this August sun were very clear that they didn't want to step and fetch it up there. They wanted a serious man, and I took it serious. It's a part of my character.
All right. So you mentioned Jones High.